So I wanted to make this little video just to go through the sheet that Mr. Moss-Emery made for you, showing all his calculations. And so if you need to figure out any formulas, then this is the way to go. So he's got them all by tabs, starting with the original data, literacy rate, and poisoning deaths. And notice it's not sorted or anything like that. This is the original data. And then descriptive statistics, which include mean, median, mode, quartiles, and the calculations for the outliers. So the lower quartile, subtract 1.5 times the interquartile range, and the upper quartile added to that. Those are going to be important if you use a box plot, and those are your outliers. And so when you make that box plot, you don't want to include the outliers, and you might make a decision not to include them at all. Okay, so here's a histogram. You can highlight, and this little thing up here in red is telling you how to think about how many categories for your histogram. So the square root of the total number of data values. So he's got about 80. Square root of 80 is about 9. So if you highlight this whole thing and you want to make a histogram, when you go to insert your chart, that will allow you to modify what you want to do for your chart. And you notice I only picked one column. So there's my histogram. It picked 8, which is fine. Sometimes it'll pick a whole bunch and you want to trim it down to 8. And there's different ways. If you click on customize, you can edit about anything on this graph. I want to show you a couple other things that you can do. There's a box plot feature in Google Sheets. It's not very nice. And so I found a different one. And so all you have to do is copy all of the data values you want to use. So I'm going to go to copy. And then I just did this, box and whisker maker. I searched on Google. There's a calculator. And all you have to do is paste. Now they have to be numerical. They can't be percents. So if you have percents, you need to change them to decimals and do it this way. If you click submit data, it makes a box and whisker plot for you, and also is a good way to verify some of your calculations. You'll notice here on this one, there's these 2 points that are outside. Those were outliers. And so it actually even shows on the graph. And so you could just snip this into your project and then talk about those different things. The outliers are part of your outlier range that we calculated in the previous tab. Okay. And so he's still adding some things here. This chi-squared coming soon. You can watch my video on how to set up your intervals, but a good way to start is to use quartiles. And so I think it's helpful to sort by one of these data values. So I'm going to sort it by literacy rate. Notice I highlighted everything, and I'm going to click on advanced sorting options because I want to click on column B, but I want to tell them it has a header row so I don't lose my names with it. So when I do that, now everything's in order from least to greatest for one of the columns. And so if I go back to my descriptive statistics, I know the first quartile, the minimum to the first quartile goes to 74.88. So I can go and highlight up to that value and color those in. And that's my first quartile. It'll make it a lot easier when you go to tally, because most likely you're going to want to pick the first quartile of values. So in this case, if I go back and look, 33.4 to 74.88, and that's my first quartile. My second quartile will be 74.89 to 92.9, and then it'd be 93 and so forth. A 2x4 is a good way to start, and I'll put the link in here to how to make this as well. But the other thing is that you can find, if you don't like the histogram on there, there's built-in histogram makers on the internet too. Easy Histogram Maker, I think, is a good one. And they're the same way. They're going to ask you to paste in the values, and then it'll make you a histogram. You can change the number of bins if you want to change it to 8. And set it up however you want to. So I don't know if it automatically changes there. It looks like it does. And you can tell it how you want it to be. It'll specify class range if you want to make a certain range. So when I click on that, now I have 8 bins, so I can see it that way. It shows the numbers at the top. So you could snip this and put it in. If you like this better, it's a nicer histogram than you can make on Excel. So there's just some things you can find. There's all kinds of things online that will help you create it, and there's stuff here you don't even know what that means, but you can look at it and see if it matches any of your values for what you're looking for max and min, etc. Okay, so that should help you walk through that.